Well, hello, beautiful people. How we doing today? We are back at it. We are on the book Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn. And this is part 5. And we are learning all about attraction and understanding uh, basically the law of attraction and knowing that there is more the feelings. And again, just to reiterate, just to kind of understand a little bit more, it's not just the feelings and not so much the thoughts. It's a combination of both. But it's what, like, when you think of, like, oh my gosh, if I've got a brand new car, you don't have to worry about the feeling. The feeling comes naturally, but it's just putting you in that state of mind that you are already having these things. So hopefully that makes sense. And they're going to go into a little more in details in this book. So we want to continue to go on there. So give me one second while I set that up. Here we go.
Fussing Father Fred. One summer, many years ago, I was dating an Episcopalian priest. For a long time, I thought this guy was the be all and end all of the male race. He was tall, well built, handsome, about 10 years my senior, bright, well educated, and came from a lovely New England family. Just my kind of guy. Father Fred was a brilliant speaker, delivering educational as well as spiritual sermons. But his church was usually this side of empty.
Hmm.
In an attempt to remedy the embarrassing situation, he would change his style, change his tone, change his organization of material, even change the altar dressings. But nothing seemed to work. People simply didn't like going to hear him, nor being around him. Those were carefree days for me. I was in my early 20s, hadn't really squared off on what I wanted to do with my life, and was finding my drink to be more and more enjoyable. Since Father Fred apparently found the same degree of enjoyment in his imbibing, the two of us were having a blast. But blast or no, something was beginning to rub me the wrong way. It was subtle, but never stopped. Over drinks, out for drives, immersed in parties, it seemed that no matter where we were or what we were doing, Fred was attacking something or someone in the church. It was as if he were obsessed. One night it would be a bishop. The next night it was something about his improper training, or low budgets, or the diocese's restrictions on high services. His attacks seemed endless, and they were starting to drive me nuts.
Hmm.
I was no psych student, but this was absurd. When I finally asked him about it, his very matter-of-fact response was, "That's the way I am.
Hmm.
I have an ability to see what's wrong with things. The church is outdated and needs renovating, but it's not up to me to do it. I just have the talent to see what needs changing." Pretty soon, I could see that Fred approached everything in life as a grievance, not just the church. The world was a mess. Everything needed changing or fixing, but he was never the one to do it. In fact, he felt incapable of doing much of anything, which is why, I guessed, he was so obsessed with conducting his services as flawlessly as possible. There, at least, he felt he could excel, whether his church was empty or not. But for all his blunderbuss, Fred was truly afraid of authority. "I can't because," was his litany. He couldn't get a raise, a secretary, a better allowance for his parish, not even a guest speaker when he wanted to go away. He could only focus on the fact that it would never happen. So, of course, it didn't.
Hmm.
Poor Fred lived in a perpetual world of don't wants, believing the more he focused on them and stewed about them, the better chance he had of making them go away. He saw himself as a helpless victim, required to submit to the greater powers that be, who were waiting to snip his ecumenical rise in the bud. Looking back on it now, I can see why people didn't want to be around him. Although his sermons rarely reflected his negativity, folks intuitively picked up on his energy, and didn't want any part of it. Again, this is an extreme example. They're the only ones I remember of how most of us have lived. And yet, these kinds of moldy old beliefs, such as the powerful ones Fred had concerning authority and fate, are our biggest roadblocks to purposeful creating because they come up and clobber us whenever we think we'd like to take another direction. You know the kinds I mean. You think you'd like to get a new job, and up shoots the highly charged emotional thought, oh, I can't because, or a new car. Oh, I can't because,
Hmm.
or a new relationship. Oh, no, 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 I really can't because they are our ancestors' values and ethics about shoulds and if onlys and rights and wrongs. They are outdated philosophies from our religions that tell us we can't have a better life until we check out of here, or that only through suffering can we hope to achieve the kingdom of God.
Mhm.
They are convictions about accomplishment and success, and working and earning. They are beliefs that have compelled us to look forever for what's wrong with everything, convinced we must find ways to fix it all before we can move ahead. The job, the environment, our mate, the government, the schools, our kids, and mostly ourselves. Gotta fix it, gotta fix it, gotta fix it. Don't want it this way, don't like it that way, gotta fix it. Perhaps our most damaging beliefs, though, are the cherished ones we hold about how it's always the other guy's fault. Our bonehead leaders, our drunken families, our horny boss. We blame with the constancy of the rising sun, thinking there's nothing wrong with that because that's how the world operates. We're certain that blaming makes us feel better, so we do it some more, and some more, and some more, never having a clue how destructive such negative vibrations have been and are being to our lives. But here's the good news. No matter what today's parade of psychologists and counselors say to the contrary, we do not have to dig up all that useless junk to make life work our way. With some simple tricks of the trade and the awareness that this is really no more difficult than paying attention to how we're feeling, we simply learn to override all that moldy old stuff that's kept us imprisoned for so long, living an arduous life that we always thought was perfectly normal. Don't wants.
Okay,
There's only one place.
let's stop there. Let me just get back here. Interesting, right? So yeah, this is a great example. And and again, I don't know if you guys have any religious backgrounds or views, but I knew I grew up Christian. Now I just kind of consider myself more of a mystic Christian. I don't believe in the mainstream traditional means, but whatever you believe, right? We've all come up with these belief systems, and everything is kind of fueled from our youth and where we're learning. And so in this case, this pastor who basically was complaining about everything all the way throughout his life never really got it and never really saw that he was just ultimately attracting that. And again, comment down below if you guys can relate to this and knowing that we could still do this. There's times when I still have to check in with myself and make sure that I'm not looking at only what's going wrong, right? It's the possibility of what's going right. And one of the things that I've learned, and one of the things that you can possibly look into yourself, is when it comes to opportunities, do you always look at things in a negative way? Right, because that was something that I would do quite often. And I noticed that it was very easy, and it was one thing that also happened very much always in the morning. So that's always something to kind of check into too, when you're thinking about your thoughts and stuff like that. So yeah, just something to do for tonight or today or whatever you're watching this, is to just check in with your thoughts. And do you feel like they automatically default to negative, because most people do. And you wouldn't, they don't even realize it, they don't even know it, but they're always looking at what's wrong. And this is an extreme case, but some people might be going through that right now. But the great thing is that now you know you can change it. It's just, again, raising that level of awareness so that you can see that everything is not out of your control. You are controlling your environment. And the more you make those changes, the easier that it's going to become for you to start creating different things in your life. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Um, and we'll be back here again till be back here again tomorrow. So until next time, you guys make it a great day. Take care.